set up on this laptop before. No.
No.
Shay, can you please stream?
Okay, let me check YouTube, make sure we're going there. Dun,
Hey, I
dun,
think
dun.
we're live.
Okay, I think so too. Okay, okay, and sound is working, so we're good. Yay! We really did.
Sweet.
We got it going. Okay. So, anyways, hi everybody. Sorry about the technical difficulties here at the start. But as you guys know, I am Shay. My lovely co host is April. And all of the information you need should be linked down in the description. So, in the month of August, we read The Evil Queen by Gina Showalter. April and I did a buddy read of this. We did that with Lindsay over at Lindsay Tut as well. And we decided we'll probably buddy read like this in future. We just kind of did about 50 pages a day. And if you ever want to join us, let us know and we'll just add you to our little chat. It'll be great. And yes. So, do you want to give a rundown of the book or would you like me to today?
It doesn't matter to me either way.
Okay.
I can give a brief synopsis, or you can give a brief synopsis.
Let's let you do it today.
Okay. So, how I explain this book to people who everybody asks me, like, what is this book about? So, this is about a land called Enchantia, in which a lot of people are affected by fairy tales. So they tend to follow the paths of certain fairy tales. And this follows along like six or so people who find themselves wrapped up into the Snow White fairy tale. And one of these people is Everly, who didn't even know she was connected to this land. She's living in our world. And then one day she just kind of finds out that she's connected to this whole world that she didn't even know existed and that she is a princess. And it kind of just takes off from there.
Yeah, it's true. And so from there, what it does is it plays with the fairy tale of Snow White and the Evil Queen, and you're constantly guessing who's who in this
Mm-hmm.
adventure. So one of the things in this book that happens very early on that I wasn't sure how I felt about, if I'm honest, is the whole law in the land where if a woman didn't become pregnant within the first year of marriage, they were basically just like sent away or killed or whatever. Like after that, they didn't have to be married to that woman anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
that was such a weird plot element to me. Just because, I mean, it clearly shows the desperation in these women who go so far as to technically break the law to have their children to save their lives and their livelihood. But at the same time, like, it feels so far fetched in our modern world that that's something that would still be in place that I thought that was a very interesting choice for the author to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I understand why she did it. I mean, it had a very fairy tale-esque plot device to it, I suppose. The fact that I believe that they were beheaded.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering
Yeah.
too. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want
If
to
they
say they
didn't
just
produce
had
an
their
heir.
heads chopped off, if that's wrong.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Um, and that's a lot of the I went back and forth over the fact that she did play very strictly with a lot of the fairy tale devices because at times the plots and the characters felt very simple, especially in the naming structure
Oh,
and everything like
completely.
that. Yeah, but then I had to remind myself that she is doing this intentionally because she is playing with those very basic fairy tales that had characters named Snow White just because she reminded people of snow.
Yeah.
So names like Everly and Hartley and Truly really aren't that surprising in context, but I had to like flip my brain and say, "Hey, you're not expecting like this grand piece of literature with
Right.
these very deep and profound names and this whole intricate structure of society because we are playing with the classic fairy tales.
Completely. It was just a really, for me, this book was just really a fun romp of a ride. Like, it wasn't anything groundbreaking or earth shattering, but it was a really fun way to play with the fairy tale tropes. And that's where I got my enjoyment out of it. I mean, this is very clearly not the best book I've ever read. But purely for an enjoyment standpoint, I gave it 4 stars. Because I could not predict where she was going with this. She was constantly throwing random things out of left field to throw you off on purpose. And it was just so fun because of it. And so,
Yeah.
like, purely for enjoyment factor, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It is not the best well-written book. Gina Showalter is not, gonna write the most beautiful prose you've ever written. That's not who she is as an author. She writes fun. I love her smutty adult series. And so, like, I like her writing for that. And it's just entertaining. And sometimes it's just what you want in a read. And that's definitely what this book is gonna be. This isn't the best retelling I've ever read. I mean, I even read a better retelling this month. So.
Right. Yeah, no, it's very much that vacation read.
Oh,
that read you get into just so you can lose yourself and just have fun. And it's very,
just
very quick.
that fluff that you occasionally need when you need something fluffy and fun and a little bit brainless. That's this book. Because you don't have to think too hard about the names or anything, but it does keep you guessing and keeps you engaged with it, and that's what it does well.
Yeah, that I think was the whole point of. That's what kept me captivated by this story, is the fact that you knew it was going to sort of follow this Snow White storyline, but you didn't necessarily know which characters were going to fall into which role, and then it started playing with this total duality of she is, but she isn't, he is, but he isn't kind of concepts, which I think is what kept me invested in the storyline, because I would go down this path of, oh, it could go this direction, and then something would come out over this direction. I'm like, oh, but then it could go over here, and then you're straddling this line of who is good, who is bad, and what the evil queen actually means for the title.
Exactly. And on that note, I think we should dive into some of the characters. What were the characters that stood out to you, besides Everly, obviously?
Right. Okay. I think one of my... Okay, so we have Prince Charming. What was his name? Roth?
That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, because you get the most like screen time with him,
right?
But
it is Roth. I just verified.
Yeah. And then his sister, I think, mainly stuck out in my brain because of the fact that she was trying so hard to be one character that it forced some of her personality and some of her characteristics started pushing her in the opposite direction, because she was so focused on not becoming something else.
Right. Which
without
I found,
like totally giving the whole plot away.
Right. I also found Truly to be an interesting character. Just because, we thought Truly was multiple things throughout the story. Like, and just the whole dynamic with her and Charming's sister. I can't think of her name right now either. But their dynamic was always kind of interesting to me and made for an interesting modern plot element for me. And I really liked the mermaid boy.
Oh, okay.
The siren guy.
Yeah.
I really liked him. I wanted more time with him. I really was so sad that there wasn't more time with him. Like, I was so obsessed with his character, and I'm like, he's going to play a big part towards the end. I need him. And then that happened, and then I was sitting here like, that was a choice. A choice I don't agree with, but a choice.
let's just kind of go back and maybe just rewrite that section.
Can we go back and change that a little bit?
Yeah. But there was a couple points in which, things happened to certain characters that you're like, is that 100% necessary?
Right.
I mean, things got wrapped up in an interesting way at the end, which I feel was a little too clean. But
there was definitely some convenience that we were dealing with towards the end of this one. But one of the other things that stood out to me was the other fairy tales that she pulled in little glimpses of, like the rats and stuff. I felt like I was having a Cinderella flashback,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so things like that.
Yeah.
Like it was just so fun. I really liked those elements. But the dynamic between Roth and Everly, I had a love-hate relationship with, if I'm honest.
Oh yeah.
Because there were moments where it's like, y'all should not be making out right now. What are you doing?
Hmm.
And then other times where it's like, okay, you could totally be making out here and you're not. Like, make up your mind already. And that was just it.
Yeah.
They couldn't make up their minds about each other, and some things that complicated a simple plot. And, you know, maybe that was to extend the story. I'm not 100% sure. But again, it was a choice. Not one I necessarily loved, but it was a choice. And I think that's what it was with this book, is like the author just made some specific choices that I'm like, okay, I guess. From here,
That's what we're rolling with.
exactly. From here, if she wrote more in the series, I think I would try it, just because I think she's gotten a lot of the like guess who element out of the story now. And so it could be a really interesting, fun fantasy where she could pull in fairy tale elements from here, and that would be really
Right.
interesting to read.
Well, and isn't it on Goodreads? It's marked as the first.
I think so. Like, it
I mean, I don't-
definitely leaves off at a point where there's more to come.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if she's going to continue on with these characters, or if she's going to do one of those series where you get some of the characters mentioned here, but they get their own story arc,
Maybe. That would be awesome.
or if you add other characters to this whole Enchantia realm.
Right. I mean, the land is called Enchantia. We could play in this sandbox for a super long time. And I'm
Yeah,
totally down for it.
exactly.
Like, I would totally be okay to play in that sandbox as long as she wanted.
Well, and that's kind of what she does with a lot of her other series is she follows like one main couple in a story, and then you
Mhm.
get glimpses of other people, and then she ties them in their own story arcs over here, and just she creates a series that way.
Right. This is the first of her
Oh.
YA stuff I've read. I've only read her Lords of the Underworld series and then the spin-off series of that because it's a mood, it's a thing. Don't ask questions.
I don't judge you
My
at
smutty
all.
soul cries out for that kind of crap. But it's so fun, and she's really good at weaving a good overarching story. So I'm really interested to see what the big overarching story for Enchantia will be. Where
Right.
each book you might run into problematic elements, obviously, like we did in this one. But I do think that the background story that was going on, the overarching story that involves the stepdad and stuff, is going to be really interesting if she decides to continue down the path she's currently on.
Hmm.
It can definitely go really well. It could be really, really fun. And I think it's just going to be a good time. Like, that's all I have to say about that book, is it was a good time. I mean, in our little chat, we kept going back and forth being like, okay, now I hate this character. What the crap? We were constantly like back and forth of who we liked, who we didn't. And that made for a really fun guessing game as you read the book.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I think
this is-
reading
this
it
is a
with
popcorn
people.
and chocolate kind of.
Oh yeah, this is one where like if it were a movie, you would just be sitting there with your popcorn and your tea, and you're like, "Let's go." And that's totally what this kind of book is, and it's just fun, pure fluff, good things all around. So I'm a fan. But like I say, I gave it like 4 stars, purely for enjoyment level. If I was doing this more critically and like writing wise and all that kind of stuff, it was probably like a 2.5. Just because
Yeah,
it
no,
was
I
a
ended
little
up
too
somewhere in the
convoluted.
middle.
Yeah. Like a 2.5, 3. But because I enjoyed it so much, the reading experience, it got a 4. And I'm okay with that rating. Because I do take the enjoyment
No,
of the
that's
read
perfectly fine, 'cause
into
I
my
was-
rating.
Right. Yeah. I was sitting. There were points where I'm like, why? So
Mhm.
I was sitting more at like a 3.5,
Mm-hmm.
just for that.
Right.
So because there were parts in some of the relationships that I found a little uncomfortable because it, I can see the relationship being toxic in a way that
No,
I
I'm
didn't
not
really
arguing you
enjoy.
there. I'm not arguing with you there. I completely see it.
Hmm.
And again, that's part of like if this was purely like enjoyment and everything was like solid and no hints of toxicity were there, it would have been 5 for me. But because of that kind of stuff, I can't give it 5 stars. Like I just can't. It doesn't
Right.
feel right. So it's like you get a 4. You were really entertaining, but you did some things wrong. So that's how I landed at a 4. And there were
Yeah, that
moments
makes
where I
sense to me.
really did want to kind of throw the book across the room where it's like, make up your mind already. But I think that's just kind of what this book is. And that's okay. That's not wrong. That's not bad. So, yeah. Anyhow. So, do you want to talk about our September read or would you like me to?
I remember the title of our September read, and that's Spin the Dawn. And that's literally all I remember about that book.
Okay, so essentially, Spin the Dawn is kind of like Mulan meets Project Runway. So we have a girl who wants to be a tailor. Her father is a tailor, but something's wrong with him and he can't go to this particular like big sewing tournament style event. And so she sneaks in under the guise of being her father or her brother or something, very Mulan style, and competes in the tournament. So it has fantastical sewing elements to it, plus Mulan elements to it. And I think it's going to be
It's got my
fun.
little.
Yeah.
It's got my gender twist.
Yes.
So,
Which you and I
where
both
she's
like. It's
pretending
a
to be
thing
something
for
else.
us. We love this.
Uh-huh.
We stan. We love it. So, yes, that's going to be our pick for September. I'm going to start buddy reading this with Lindsay after I get back from Florida because I can't think about it while I'm in Florida. So it's going to happen when I get back. So for those of you who
Yeah.
don't know, April and I are both going to BookNet Fest next week. Well, this week. Oh my gosh, it's this week. My brain.
Yep.
I leave in like 3 days.
Yep. It's
Oh
in
my
5
gosh.
days.
Oh, the craziness. But anyways, so yes, BookNet Fest is happening. So her and I will be finally meeting in person. And we're both excited. We've been talking for years now. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm just so glad we're making this happen at this point. So it's just time. It'll be a good time.
I'm excited.
We're going to do Harry Potter World. It'll be great. We'll
Heck
bring
yes.
umbrellas. We'll be
Heck yes.
fine. All right. Well, I think I'm just going to wrap it there. I don't know if anybody ever actually popped in, but that's okay.
We still rocked it.
We did. All right. Whoever watches this later, see you later. Bye.